This is why I need to be in control.
And we're live.
Hello!
Hello! La, la, la. Hello, all. Welcome. It is Thursday afternoon, Generational Change. I'm Jen.
I'm Peter. And you've got your watermelon earrings rocking.
I do.
Today.
Well, now it's just, I feel like I'm going to be like, this is going to be like a signature thing. Although at some point I'm going to have to get an assortment. So I'm not wearing the exact same watermelon earrings.
Guys, if you are watching on X, Twitter, I cannot emphasize enough. Please come over to YouTube if you can. Make sure that you smash that like button. Make sure that you are subscribed. And as for those of you who are new, Jen is running for Congress in Florida's 25th Congressional District against Debbie Wasserman Schultz in the Democratic primary. So,
it's here. It's here. It's here. And actually, for those of you,
code.
And for those of you who are not amenable to Act Blue, I feel you, I see you. And very, very shortly, I see you. Within the next few days, our full website will be up and running and you will be able to donate without going through Act Blue. That was very important to me from the very beginning. That was like one of the first things I made sure we could do before even launching a campaign.
Henry, whatever you ate, we certainly hope it was good.
Oh, yeah.
And so Brian, if you want to talk about Freemasonry, you're welcome to do that here. So you don't have to worry about being kicked off of X.
Everybody can talk about everything here. Just don't be mean. Just don't be mean.
No, we don't think most people that come on here.
No, they're not. But that's it. Don't be mean. Don't, and then everybody can talk about everything.
Yes. Well, as for those of you who are obviously aware, and again, we can lead off the show. And we're going to talk about the event that Jen went to last night. But this is a clip that we have to talk about because, as Jen has pointed out many times, it is often said in certain cultures, and obviously the hot button, of course, at the moment is the Jewish culture. Do not let the worst of us represent all of us.
Right. It is unfortunate for that happens. And just to preface this, I have not seen this. And I avoid listening and watching this person at all costs and have basically for years and years and years, just because I just find him incredibly cringy.
But probably now more than ever.
Well, I haven't seen this, so I don't know what it is we're watching.
So Ben Shapiro wants you to know that he thinks that because the reality of our economic and political system is that working people suffer immensely as a result of it. And the discussion about whether or not one can retire has become the topic of conversation.
Right. If you're not entitled to having like remainder of your life with dignity.
Yeah. Well, dignity's not permitted.
No, unless you could profit off of it. If he could profit off of it, he probably would.
Ben wants you to know that. So we're going to play a clip and you'll get an idea of just how
I hate
wretched.
stomaching this stuff.
Well, listen, I have a very strong opinion.
Stop.
And let's be real about this. It's insane that we haven't raised the retirement age in the United States. It's totally crazy. Joe Biden, if that were the case, Joe Biden should not be running for president. Hey, Joe Biden is 81 years old. The retirement age in the United States at which you start to receive Social Security and you are eligible for Medicare is 65. Joe Biden has technically been eligible for Social Security and Medicare for 16 years, and he wants to continue in office until he is 86, which is 19 years past when he would be eligible for retirement.
Now, granted,
I agree with a lot of that.
I do agree with that.
Joe should have stepped aside a long time. Like, he's got me at these people really should like be stepping back and enjoying their later years in life, especially the people that have such a juicy pension.
Now, I would normally say
like Joe.
I would normally say under these circumstances that he's being a total hypocrite because Trump is also over that age at this point. But Shapiro has pretty much made it clear that he does not support Trump. He was a huge DeSantis
also
supporter.
the peach fuzz is not working for him. It's just bad. It's just not a good look. Like, he just does not look like he looks like a child with a painted beard on. Like a Halloween costume on. Look at why is his beard such a light color unless he's dyeing his hair? Ben, are you coloring your hair even at your age?
He is putting something on top of his hair to make it seem like he's a moral person, but we all know he's not. So let's keep going.
No one in the United States should be retiring at 65 years old. Frankly, I think retirement itself is a stupid idea unless you have...
That's because you are a privileged
100 millionaire.
Oh my God. This is someone that I really, the problem is, in order for him to really grasp how hard this is, it would have to happen to someone else. And I wouldn't wish that. Like, it would have to happen to like his grandfather or a great uncle or somebody that he saw that couldn't afford to exist past an age of retirement and ended up having to be in a really bad way. But he's never, ever had to see anything like that.
He's never had his binky taken from him. And I think that
I swear to God, I feel like I want to wipe that beard off. I feel like it looks like dirt on his face.
Yeah, he probably just,
I don't know what that is.
Mask and it's still there.
I don't know.
All right.
Maybe it's from being up someone's butt really high.
Well,
I cannot attest to that.
Because that does look to me, that looks like he's been like in some pie or something. Okay.
Maybe. Here we go.
Some sort of health problem. Everybody that I know who is elderly, who has retired, is dead within 5 years. And if you talk to people who are elderly and they lose their purpose in life by losing their job and they stop working, things go to hell in a handbasket real quick. But put all of that aside, just on a fiscal level and on a logical level. When Franklin Delano Roosevelt established 65 as the retirement age, the average life expectancy in the United States was 63 years old.
That is correct.
Today, the average life expectancy in the United States is close to 80. It's totally insane that you believe that you should be able to work from the time that you are essentially 20 to the time that you are 65, which is a 45-year period, pay in, and then you will receive Social Security benefits sufficient to support you and your family, you and your wife or whatever, for like another 20 years. That's crazy talk.
That's crazy talk for somebody who's rich, who does not care about the least of these.
And I love the fact that he says that people, and I do not think that most people that are collecting Social Security are still supporting families of four. And I don't ever think anybody ever claimed that that was the case. In fact, most of the people that I know that collect Social Security, their spouse collects Social Security as well. So they both collect Social Security. And for the most part, don't have dependents, typically. So the fact that he's sitting there and suggesting that somehow every individual is making enough money to support a family of four, as if their pension is like, I don't know, our congressional representatives' pension. What about their pension? What about the fact that they can sit there and still collect a pension and still work?
Yeah.
What about that?
And in his case, we're living in a country that does not have universal health care or a living wage.
Right.
So how do you think people are going to retire?
Well, he doesn't care. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah,
he doesn't
talks
care
about it like, oh yeah, people are putting thousands of dollars away per month to make sure that they have money for retirement.
Because if people were actually able to put money away, Ben, they probably would. Yeah. See, the thing is, most people are spending more than half of their income on their housing, which is house poor. And that's getting worse and worse and worse. So you see, Ben, if people really just even had the, let's say, the willpower to save and not be just such, deplorables, they still would not have the ability to be able to exist into older age. Not to mention the fact that not all jobs, Ben, are sitting behind a desk and a microphone. Some people actually bust ass and work for a living.
Hey, Ben is doing a service for humanity.
And by the way,
he really believes that.
The point of pensions is for people that do jobs wherein it's so physically in such a way that you really can't work past a certain age. Okay, so those people who put their like blood, sweat, and tears, whether it's your auto workers or any of your like workers, your factory people, you can't work till you're 80, Ben.
Try telling a
they give up their bodies for their work. That's the whole point, Ben.
Try telling a welder or a carpenter or an electrician
work till you're 80.
Or how about a cement truck driver or a long haul driver?
Anybody that's doing physical work is not working till they're 80. The reason the friends you know work till they're 80 is because they're feckless people that don't really work. They just get collected paycheck. I don't know, like Joe Biden. So when you're doing that kind of work, yeah, why not? You could actually apparently do his job half asleep. So you're right. You're right. But unfortunately, the working people, they work in a way that you'll never understand, and they are not physically capable of maintaining that work up to that age.
I definitely agree. And I think that the other problem that we have here, well, it's not just that. It's
so
the fact that people like Ben, who are not what you would consider alpha male material, they always have something to say negative when it comes to working people. This is the divide, though, because Ben is technically conservative. He is in the GOP, but that part of the GOP is dying. People don't want that over there.
Let us introduce you to Mr. O'Brien and Sean Fain.
Yeah, really.
I'm sure they would have some words for you, Ben. I can't even take him seriously. Can we be done with him? Please let me be done with him.
We're almost done.
That is not fiscally sustainable. The notion that if you have to raise the retirement age to 67 or 68, that everyone is going to fall apart. My parents are that age. My parents are not retired. And they shouldn't retire. It would be very bad for them to retire.
What do his parents do? What do your parents do,
your parents
Ben?
Do, Benny boy?
Like, I'm picturing them. You know what? I'm thinking, like, do they own, like, own a restaurant, like maybe a deli?
Yeah,
are they in the diamond business? What are they, Ben?
Listen,
I don't think they're waiting tables.
If you're attempting to make stereotypical remarks about my parents, you are definitely wrong. I have good parents. They did not work with their hands, but they are very useful.
Oh my God.
They're useful people for society.
It is such a unbelievably privileged and entitled thing to assume that all work is the kind of work that you can do until you're any age. How do you think things get made that you use?
Well,
how do you think your car was built?
Well, it's like you said often, it's like at the time, people were there were people that didn't get how terrible a comment it was when W made the comment, oh, you got 3 jobs? Oh, that's great. That's the American way.
Oh my God.
And it's like, no, actually, that's horrific.
And this will be the first douche complaining about any sort of like problem with the supply chain if his stuff doesn't get where he needs it on time.
Can somebody,
who do you think those workers are?
Well, listen, granted, he probably has a driver, but let's just assume that Ben actually drives himself places. I'd like to know if he actually knows how to change oil or change his tire. If God forbid anything.
Not a chance.
Probably not, but I just want to know. So tag Ben on social media and ask him if he's capable.
Probably
not, but that's why he wouldn't respond.
And here's the thing. I can't. I know how to, but I'm not getting down there and doing it. But I'll tell you what, my upper middle class Jewish husband absolutely knows how to and has done that. So
that's
I am saying that, and I'm just saying, of course, but Jason's really good at he's like MacGyver in ways. But I'm just saying, I'm not saying that like it's because he was raised as like a privileged white Jewish person. I'm saying it because he's sitting on television and making himself out to be a complete privileged. So that is why I
don't get us demonetized.
I'm not. That's why I haven't.
All right, let's finish the clip. We have our wonderful guest waiting. So let's
yes.
By the way, it's disrespectful to people who are 67, 68, 69 years old to suggest that they are in the same shape as people who are 65 were in 1940. It's not true at all. Have you met a 65-year-old lately? 65-year-olds are not old in the United States. They're not. 68-year-olds are not old in the United States. Again, Joe Biden thinks he's not old, and that dude is running for president again, and that dude actually is old, and he's 81.
We have to stop.
I fail to see how a country in which our entire leadership class is 80+ is telling you that we should have a retirement age of 65. It makes no sense at all.
See, that I agree with. See, now that's true. See, therein he and I could come together. I agree. They really at that age should have taken a step back and passed the baton a long time ago.
But the way that he phrases it is in a way that makes absolutely no sense. I agree. And there are people of a certain age that are able-bodied.
Yes.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, this is one of those things that has bothered me my whole life when I'm in certain places and I see people that are clearly older and have clearly worked really hard and they're still having to do that. And he's just sitting there saying, yes, they should have to do that until they should. What then? Should we just bury them at work? Well, should these people just work literally till they're in the ground?
Unfortunately, that is the gross realization of what the capitalist system has become, the worst kind, which is shaming.
I'm telling you, like, if I want to almost like say, I wish that on your family in a way. Like, I hope you get to see what that looks like, but that's so horrible. Well, that's the thing. I don't want to wish that on someone else's, but it's like, how else would someone like that ever get a clue?
Well, he doesn't have one, but we can bring in somebody who does have a clue.
No, Tyrel has lots of clues.
Well, plenty of them. And he has been obviously getting a lot of, inquiries as of late because there's the rumor mill that's been floating around quite a bit, but we liked him before people were trying to get his attention. So I hope he realizes that. Tyrel Ventura, welcome back to Generational Change.
Hey, thank you for having me. Always a pleasure coming on and talking with you guys.
Hey, so how is it going? I mean, the last time we spoke, we were sort of talking about the prospects of Jesse running with RFK, and he's like, well, we talked about it. And now
we did say make America great again before Trump,
and then Trump copied it from us. So we are the cutting edge here. But but now the next thing I know, I see Jesse introducing. And so where I am curious, like, what is going on there? What's going on behind the scenes there?
First, I have no concept of what you guys are talking about. Nothing really exciting has happened this week in this household. There's been no stress. There's been no. Yes, as I'm sure everybody has seen the interesting New York Times article that came out. It is all kind of political speculation. Just as we've said, like there's been no official ask in any capacity of that kind of RFK Jr. asking Jesse to be his VP. And so as far as the governor's concerned, and we're all concerned, it's kind of like we don't really comment on the speculation of things,
right?
Because it's there hasn't been anything of that nature. Yes, Governor Ventura did. My dad did go to, it was in Arizona and introduced RFK at a kind of get on the ballot campaign because my father, as an advocate for third parties, has been advocating for all the third party candidates running, whether it be for president or Senate or, House of Representatives, mayor. He's a big proponent in breaking kind of the two party system. And so he supports everyone who's kind of in that process, trying to do that and trying to make a change. To get us out of that duopoly that controls this country. So I wish I could say like, oh, here's this like wild stuff going on. There really hasn't been.
I thought I was getting the scoop.
I know. I'm sorry. I wish I could tell you guys like some like wild stuff, but no, tragically, there hasn't been anything like that.
I didn't. You know what? This is when
if they've been considering Jesse, that's that's their camp, but we haven't heard anything whatsoever.
Because when we put that out there, we get, of course, some comments about, because we have a lot of people that are not happy with where RFK is on Israel. And so when we would suggest that Jesse would be in an alignment with that, people are like, well, that's not right. And I'm like, but here's the thing. Jesse doesn't have to be in alignment with that. He is all about breaking the duopoly. He is all about like getting somebody in there that makes some difference in the system. And that is what motivates him. And I said that even on the show whenever this came up on our show a few weeks ago. So I know that I said, Jesse's not saying he endorses everything that RFK stands for. That's not what this is. It's not an endorsement. Like I saw that right away. It's just him standing up for what's right, which is having choices on our ballots. And I so got that from the very beginning. Like I knew it wasn't like oh yes, we're on the same page with everything. And reasonable people can have those discussions.
And him and Bobby have been friends for many years, long before Bobby really got into kind of this end of the political things. Like, they were friends back when Bobby was environmental lawyer, and I think they've kind of known each other and have talked at various times, for probably the last I mean, probably since the, late 2000, early 2010s, somewhere in there. So that, they've known each other for a very long time. They do not see eye to eye on certain political issues, as you mentioned. They do on other things, and I think that's kind of one of the things that Jesse's always a big proponent of is, look, you're never going to find a political candidate, whether it's Cornel West or RFK, or even candidates within the Democrat and Republican parties that you are ever as a voter going to be 100% on, in terms of total alignment with all their views and everything that they say. What you have to always do as a good voter is say, okay, well, who do I most agree with, and who do I feel is coming at their candidacy from the heart and in what they believe in, they truly believe in, and not what they're kind of either believing in because it's popular or believing in because they have donors that tell them what to believe in. So that's kind of the one of the big central components of messaging to voters is you don't necessarily have to agree 100% of the time with everything that a candidate does, but you try to find those candidates at least 70% of the time, 70% of the issues, find that percentage of issues that you feel in a candidate you agree with, and is that enough to cast your vote for them. And so it's a good point that you make. Jesse and Bobby do not agree 100% across the board. And it's always interesting to see how people have characterized my father over the years. Because, when you look at like his policies that he enacted as governor compared to the kind of weird pigeonholing they do because he's spoken at like Ron Paul's convention 20 some odd years ago, or that he's spoken at this thing, or that he's, supported this third party candidate or the other. You make that great point. It's not because he universally shares all of their ideals. It's because he's trying to break that system of Democrat and Republican over and over and over and over again.
I think you bring up an excellent point, and one of the reasons why I have been very bullish on RFK, not as a supporter, but as somebody who recognizes that if he is on the ballot in all 50 states, and it looks likely that he will be, he is going to present an off-ramp opportunity for people who no longer want to stay on the two-party duopoly road. And you go to the polls, you see how bad Biden is, you see how bad Trump is, and you just think, you know what the hell? I'm going to cast my vote for this person. And I think that that's where, Pop Ventura really has an idea about where the country needs to go. Yeah. Because remember, the two parties align to screw everything that gets in their way. So if he's on the ballot, that's the biggest hurdle as far as I'm concerned.
He'll absolutely clear 5%.
And that is really the thing.
He'll absolutely clear 5%. And we haven't seen that yet. So that is, that in and of itself would be celebratory.
We're having Jill Stein on the podcast next Thursday. And one of the things that, we make very clear, particularly to the Greens, that we make to the Libertarians, and obviously to Dr. Cornel West, is that the big difference with RFK is he has the resources. As much as it sucks that this is a money game, if you want to be able to raise the capital necessary in order to clear that 5% threshold, and then, because again, you obviously want to win, but you go in with the mindset of, we're going to change this thing. And so the way you change it is if you clear 5%, you're going to get those written into law, federally matching funds, although Lord knows they'll try to pass some amendment to say that law no longer exists. They did, the requirements with Ross Perot to getting on the debate stage. So as far as I'm concerned, they're going to try it, but you have to be willing to try whatever's necessary to break away from this current system. Because as far as I can see, it's already breaking as it is.
Yeah.
Now it's just a question of how we top it over.
Yeah, no, I completely, that's great points that you make. And I think also another interesting aspect of third-party candidacies is you also have to look at, they a lot of times will, in many different elections over the years, sometimes that third-party candidate, even if they have no shot of winning, what they're running on can sometimes influence then what all the campaigns start talking about. You saw that with Ross Perot in his original runs back in the early 90s. Suddenly everything was economy because he started bringing it up. You see that in other third-party races too. Well, they'll bring up something, whether it be, back before we became so hyper aware of the environment and the dangers of it. You saw Green Party candidates who would gain a little popularity, and then suddenly that became a talking point, and the other two parties had to jump on that ship because they realized, oh, this is what people really are focused on. Not our bullshit talking points, or who can throw a football, or have a beer with the voter, which we've seen played out over and over and over again, and those kind of fake little things that they do to look how cool he is.
You don't think it's cool when they go and eat the corn dog at the Iowa State Fair? That's not convincing you to vote
know what
for them?
though? Honestly, Joe Biden holding the ice cream cone, that is his legacy. Joe Biden holding an ice cream cone and unable to say ceasefire is his legacy. But, one thing that's interesting when you talk about what is really the difference between candidates that you're not going to agree with on everything. And I'm actually okay. I would vote for someone that I didn't agree with on anything if they were the non-corporate candidate and were properly representing the majority of my district. So I've said it before. I will vote for a non-corporate conservative before I will vote for a corporate liberal. And it doesn't even matter if I necessarily agree with them. If they are a person of principle and are going to be following what most people want, it's irrelevant. So for me, it's about, is somebody going to use their brain? Is somebody in this for tribal partisan hackery? Is somebody really have any principles whatsoever? And most importantly, are they answering to the majority of their constituents? So if I live somewhere that's very conservative and most of the people want conservative stuff, that's just too bad on me. Okay. And I think more people have to accept that when you're in the minority, you're not going to get your way so long as you support the idea of democratic principles. So I just like, in my personal opinion, to find people that are just capable of using reason and seeing their job as a public service versus what all their personal opinions are about things. But, that's just me, and I'm kind of crazy that way.
Yeah, really.
Well, I think it's very easy that we get lost in the kind of the dog and pony show and the American Idol aspects of our elections, that a lot of times what you're talking about gets lost because people don't, that idea that, hey, I'm doing this as a public service. I'm running because I feel a duty as a citizen to give back to my community by running for office. They forget that the part of running for office is that you're giving back. You're saying, you know what, I'm going to take the time out of my private life to be a part of this great grand experiment that is the United States of America's government and give back. And I think that we have completely lost sight of that, even on a level of even amongst third party candidates. I think a lot of times we lose that basic fact that this is not about playing politics and becoming a career politician or someone who just runs over and over and over and over and over again, that this is ultimately about public service. That's what this all boils down to. Democrats and Republicans don't give two shits about public service.
No.
They're there to elevate themselves and then the political apparatus and the lobbyists behind them. So that's where when you're looking at third party candidates, you really got to do your homework as a voter and say, okay, who's running based on ego? Who's running based on they have maybe one idea and one issue and that's it. And even when they get in there, they're not really gonna know what they're doing regarding the multitude of other things that they have to be focused on. That was one of the biggest things I remember from Jesse's original candidacy is, he had his set of ideals. And then when he was running, they would, other political issues at that time in Minnesota would be brought up. And, my dad being, the honest person that he is, literally had to answer some questions saying, you know what, I don't know. But I promise you the next time we have this debate or the next time we have this interview, I will do the research and find out those answers for you. And having the guts to actually say, hey, you know what, I don't know that. Instead of the standard political game of if they ask you a question that you don't know, we'll answer a totally different question that has nothing to do with the question that they asked. How many times have we seen that played out over and over again over the years in elections? So that's the key, whether it's a presidential election or a mayoral election or a sheriff election, even, whatever the moment that you have to really vet the candidates yourself, take the time to do it and see who does truly want to do this as a public service, not just for themselves or their party or whatever it might be.
That was always one of the things that I loved so much about Jesse. And I've been a fan, like I said, I've been a fan since the original days, not the Predator days. That was not my thing, but the wrestling days. And I also of his books. And one of my favorites is Republicans and Democrats. And that was very eye-opening to me. But I always loved that he served one term, recognized that it was a term of service, and then moved on. And that to me is so, like, it speaks volumes as to what someone's motivation is and why they're doing what they're doing, because he could have sat there for another 4 years. You know, and but of course we also know that it was kind of expensive for him to be sitting there because of all the things. So we kind of know that story. But no, I mean, these people that want to just sit there forever, and you know, our mission has always been transforming politics into service. And for me, it's just personally, I don't want to do this any longer than I would have to do this, and be around these people any longer than I would have to be around these people. But it's like sometimes somebody has to be the grown-up in the room.
Well, and I think you guys mentioned something earlier too about the sudden thrust of, why are we seeing the Cornel Wests and the Robert Kennedy Juniors and the Jill Stein, why are we seeing that uptick right now? And I think it really does get down to well, first I want to help people, because this has bothered me a little bit. This is a very important election. We do have two terrible candidates running from the other two parties, in Biden and Trump. This is an amazing opportunity to really make a statement as voters as a whole that we are tired of these two candidates, especially when they're both like over 80, and should be out, lack of a better term, put out to pasture politically. Like, let them retire, stop trying to reanimate the corpses of Trump and Biden, the political corpses of Trump and Biden. But let's not just get caught up on this year alone. People have been sick of the two parties now for going on, I would say, 20 some odd years, maybe longer. And it isn't just about this presidential election. It is about this one and every election moving beyond this. So don't let this
definitely past this election. Ross Perot and he had a completely topsy-turvy campaign, and he still almost got 20% of the vote. And this is 32 years ago. I mean, that's
91, 92. Yeah.
Big deal.
We have to, because I hear a lot of the activists out there and a lot of the people fight like, oh my God, this year's do or die. It is very important to get out and make that change and make that protest vote, make that mark. At the same time, even if a Biden or a Trump gets elected again, that doesn't mean the fight's over. Throw up your hands. All is hopeless. All is lost. You then have to keep pushing long after this year, whatever the hell happens at the end of the election cycle this year. Because let's be realistic. Do I think that Robert's going to get on the ballot in all 50 states? Maybe. It would take a pretty massive amount of logistics and money to do that, which is a sad commentary on our system, as you mentioned earlier. But even if he does, is that assured him a win, or is it assured him 5%? Maybe. Cornel West, same situation. Jill Stein, same situation. I don't know who the Libertarians have got, who they're rolling out this year. But at the end of the day, I don't think that Bobby's going to end up winning this election. If anything, he'll throw enough chaos into the game that it'll make it a little bit more interesting than just seeing Donald and Biden again. And same with Cornel and same with Jill. You hope that these third-party candidates can really get in there and shake things up and present some new ideas that maybe the other two parties will lean into. I remember it took Bernie Sanders' campaign to suddenly even get Clinton and Trump to, the two parties to talk about the wealth divide. And now the wealth divide has become a very normalized conversation on the campaign trail, even though they don't really want to do anything to change it. But ultimately, it did change the vernacular of what we're talking about. And sometimes that can be enough. Sometimes you don't necessarily have to win the seat if at least you can change the direction of the conversation.
That's what I say all the time. And that is why I support Dr. West. It's that I like the message that he puts out. I like what he stands for. And I like him using a national platform and getting that message out. It isn't because I think he's going to win. But what I do think is interesting about RFK is, so who is he going to pull more votes from? So I think the question really does, I think we would have a whole lot better idea as to between Joe and Trump, who would win. But because of RFK in there, I really think that since both of those people are not popular, that's what I don't see. That's what I'm curious about, how it's going to go. Who's going to pull who's he going to pull more votes from?
It's an interesting observation, because really when you look at it, I know that the Democrats are scared to death of Robert. They think he's going to pull all these votes from Biden and things like that. But honestly, I think Robert's going to pull more votes from Trump. I think because of his certain viewpoints on the on the vaccine issue and things like that. I think he's going to pull a lot from the Republican side, or that kind of MAGA base, of cats who may be tired of Donald Trump or kind of voted for him because he was the outsider. And okay, let's go with this guy, even though we don't really like him, but he's, this weird outside mess. I could see a lot of people jumping from the Trump ticket, the Trump voting bloc to Robert. Just as much as I could see certain people jump from the Biden side to Robert. But I feel like, especially with his views on the whole mess in Gaza and all of that,
they're the same on that. They're all the same on that.
That's what I mean. I feel like he's going to end up pulling more from the right than he is from the left based on certain views he's come out with.
We'll see. But I will say this. A lot of the people the Democrats, that one of the main things that they don't like about Joe is how old he is and how they just feel like he can't stay up past too late past his bedtime. And so those people who are definitely more Democratic minded, but are, this guy just has to call it in. They find RFK much more palatable as he can maintain a conversation and eye contact simultaneously.
Yeah. I definitely think that from RFK's standpoint, the polling shows that it's fairly even. I think the bigger the vote shares get, the more it's going to hurt Biden, simply because I think Trump's base is tighter than Biden's is.
He has a much more rabid base.
But there's no question that there is an appeal of RFK being a more libertarian-minded, steady hand than obviously Trump being the complete wild card, crazy man at times that he can be. And so by that measure, I do think that that's going to matter. And I also think that here's something that we haven't even posted on social media yet, and we're going to be doing it. So the numbers came out just the other day about what's going on in the municipal elections in the state of Florida, because the Democratic Party decided to cancel the primary and not allow for anyone to go to the polls. Well, guess what? It turns out that in the municipal races, the GOP is beating the Dems at the polls 15-1. So thank you very much for convincing us that we must take away democracy in order to save it.
And I'll be labeled the bad Democrat for not just getting in line and touting Joe. When in fact, had you had even just the slightest modicum appearance of a primary, then maybe we would be able to have some momentum on down ballot races.
And when people are talking about what's coming in November, when they assume that people are going to get in line for Joe, no, this is just the appetizer. This is going to get so much worse because you have no momentum on the ground. One of the things that we've noticed so far in Jen's campaign against Wasserman Schultz is that people, especially on the Democratic side, are desperate for leadership. They're desperate for it. They have no one who is out there trying to help. They're just saying, go off and figure it out for yourself.
Well, it's that and a lot of people that I've spoken with, that they're just done with electoral politics.
I can see that. I could see that. At a certain point, people just be like, I wash my hands of this mess, because they keep changing the rules. They keep changing their stance on things. I'm being told I have to vote for somebody as opposed to inspiring me to vote. I think one of the biggest mistakes the Democrats have made consistently now is you have to inspire voters, not tell them that they're wrong, if they don't buy your candidate, right? So that's one of the biggest issues I think you're coming across. The second really interesting thing too is and maybe I'm going out on a limb and I hate prognosticating, but I don't believe Joe's going to end up being the candidate this year. I think they're going to swap Joe out right around convention time.
With who?
Honestly, the only name that pops into my head right now that's getting the kind of shadow campaigny vibe of is probably Newsom from California.
Yeah. And I don't think they'll have any better chance. I think that even if they swap out Joe, I think that their numbers in terms of their odds of winning will stay exactly the same. I don't think it will matter. I really don't. I think that there are people that are angry at the Democrats are angry at the Democrats.
And I think they're going under this pretense at this point that he is the incumbent and the incumbent generally wins. The problem is that he's the most unpopular incumbent since Jimmy Carter, who was the last incumbent to get knocked out. Now, you can make the argument that George H.W. Bush, who was the incumbent, got knocked out, but let's be real. That would not have happened if Ross Perot was not in the race. In a straight up race, there's no way that was going to occur. It's too obvious that that's the way that it shaped up. But you know what? Those are the breaks. If people get on the ballot, they should have the right. Whoever's going to lose. If Trump loses, it's RFK's fault. It's Dr. West's fault. If Biden loses,
that's not true.
It's it's anti, it's this, that, and the other thing. And this is the problem.
Okay, that's not true.
See, when people
will you sell this?
No, it's not even a point of responding to it. It's the fact that, remember, Tyrel, people know your father better than you do. Okay, so
have you ever read anything that Jesse has ever written? He is the most like live and let live libertarian person that there is. Like I don't understand. He probably said something along the lines of, I don't think this is something that should even be discussed in politics or whatever it was.
Just read my book, Democrats and Republicans.
Democrats and Republicans. Well, no, he has a lot of books, but the point is, Jesse is one of the most like, that's absurd. Like ACLU minded people that am I wrong? Am I missing something?
But the last time you came on, our clips are making the rounds now because everyone's talking about it and thousands of people are seeing that. When he came on back in October, Jesse made a point of saying that I actually wrote in a book 20 some odd years ago that RFK and myself were going to be a presidential ticket. And it's like, this is like so weird how like
he's
these
a prognosticator.
That's
But will you confirm that your father is in fact not anti-choice?
My father's anti-choice when it comes to abortion and are we talking about that anti-choice?
Yes, that's what they're saying.
Oh no, he's totally pro-choice. My father's always been that way. I don't know where that again. Like
that's what I'm saying. But I saw that in the comments of like he is the most live and let live libertarian when it comes to civil liberties. He would never ever tell anybody what to do with their person.
He completely believes that it's a woman's choice. It's her body. It's the whole thing. He's always had that stance for as far back as I can remember. In fact, he actually had to get my mom to go out and march when they were trying to actually change and enshrine in the Constitution's women's rights, and then it tragically failed back in the early 80s, which just blows my mind to this day.
No, Jesse's a feminist. Jesse is definitely, I mean, and
we should definitely transition into a topic that I know we were going to need to cover because, as you said earlier, you would rather support a non-corporate conservative than a corporate liberal. And the reason this matters is because, as you know, there was a vote that was cast on the Hill yesterday in which Congress decided it was a good idea to ban TikTok. And the reason that something like that comes to pass is because we have bought and paid for corporate representatives on both sides of the aisle. So when somebody like Debbie Wasserman Schultz votes in favor of the ban, but somebody as detestable as Marjorie Taylor Greene votes against the ban, I don't want to hear nothing about how, oh my God, one party's so much better.
Wait, and let's be clear. We're not fans of Marjorie.
Oh, she's the worst. She's such a clown.
We are not fans. Broken clock is right twice a day.
But here's why this matters, because the Queen is going to let you know exactly why this has to happen.
Oh my God.
Points to make. And it's interesting to hear this respectful debate. First of all, this is not a ban on TikTok. I'm a grandmother of teenagers. I understand the entertainment value, the educational value, communication value, the business value for some business on this. This is not an attempt to ban TikTok. It's an attempt to make TikTok better. Tic-tac-toe, a winner.
Oh my God!
This person is still in Congress.
Oh my God! This is like when we did the kente cloth tails. This is up there with the kente cloth tails. I'm gonna need. Oh, Nancy, give her the hook.
And why is she talking about this? Because she voted yes on this bill. I am telling you, I know for a fact what this bill is all about because we had a clip in which Jen was talking about the difference between being raised Zionist and sticking with it versus breaking away from it. And that got pulled from TikTok almost immediately after this passed. Because that's totally coincidental.
This is a result of the ADL. And now we're seeing that more and more. And that Greenblatt piece of
you know what?
Yeah.
Yes, we'll continue.
A winner. And here's what I have to say. The people of China have come forth. The Tibetans have come forth and said on TikTok in China, they are suppressed. They cannot put their message out. Not only that, the Chinese government misrepresents the situation in Tibet.
Oh my God, the Chinese government misrepresents things. Tyrel.
Isn't this the person that went over to Taiwan when she was specifically told not to do it and did it anyway?
Like, Tyrel, you have any comments on the Chinese and level of like interference and authoritarianism and misinformation?
I let me say this. Right now, we have people in this country, in the United States right now, who do not have a home to sleep in, who are starving in the streets. We have food deserts in this country. We have major issues with our healthcare systems. We have major infrastructure problems. We have trains that crash and put pollutants, deadly pollutants and toxic chemicals into the groundwater in communities across this country. Why in God's name are our politicians giving two shits about TikTok? You know, when you really step back and look at it, what is TikTok is not a major issue threatening the United States of America today. I'm sorry.
It's threatening the Israel narrative.
It is. It's threatening the
regardless
Israel
of who's pouring money in behind it to try to change narrative and things like that. I think
work.
as any informed voter and looking at this, it's like we have real issues that affect us on a daily basis, where people are dying in the streets because of it.
Right.
And instead, our politicians are doing this because of what? Lobbying money on one side, wherever that's coming from. And then on the other side, hey, it's cute. It gets clicks. I'm running for elections this year. I can stand up and say I voted yay or nay against TikTok.
Right.
Why? Because it's a buzzword. It creates a little hashtag. And then they can all say like, ooh, yeah, TikTok. Because they're just as hungry for clicks as the makers of TikTok are. You know what I mean? Like that's the sad state of our political affairs. That's why you see, crap like this being passed in Congress. It ain't just about who wants to control the narrative on TikTok, which is ridiculous to begin with. But it's also about, at the end of the day, hey, it's a buzzword. The kids are into it. If I vote on it and talk about it, I'll get clicks and views. Oh my goodness gracious. That's what makes me sick when I see stuff like this. Why are we wasting our time on TikTok?
Well,
we have
and
real problems in this country to deal with.
She's protecting them from TikTok. She's not going to protect them from lead in their water or houselessness or the fact that their parents go into debt for their health care. She's not going to protect them from that.
No.
But damn, she's going to save them from TikTok.
Let's spend some real quality time worried about an app and worried about the fact of who is, what country is in bed with the business that made that app or isn't. It's such a waste of energy and space and political currency, in dealing with issues like this, when you got people who, like you said, who've lost all their money, as the old, when they found out, what is it? I think a $500 bill could break many Americans' bank account. That to me is a bigger issue to be looking at through our Congress and trying to figure out those problems than whether or not teenagers can say X or Y on TikTok, or as an adult, I can use it and make a political statement on a platform that is made for not just political statements, but also cute videos and things like that. I mean, let's get real. It's absolutely ridiculous, the fury over TikTok or social media companies in general.
Let's keep going.
In Hong Kong, well, let me just tell you about Hong Kong. During the Taiwan election, TikTok into Taiwan that the Uyghurs, on whom there is a genocide exercised by the Chinese government, they have told the people in Taiwan that the Uyghurs like that genocide. And they told them that the people of Hong Kong like the destruction of their democracy. They don't frame it that way, but that's their message. And again, suppressing the communication from Tibet. And then just people, yesterday on the steps, we heard from the Taiwan people, we heard from the Tibetans, we heard from the Hong Kong, and we heard from a woman whose husband was arrested because of his communication with somebody with a shared view. So this is controlled by the Chinese Communist government. But forgetting that, if you can, I can't.
I would like to forget everything she just said, because she is literally
the worst thing ever. I don't know how she can do that.
The one thing that probably your father remembers very well from his days in the governor's mansion and just how politics has evolved. Thankfully, we're getting away from it. But these anecdotal stories about this random person that I have to tell you about that did this incredible thing. I met this person at the grocery store, and they told me this really amazing story about how they went to Taiwan and, they were suppressed there, and we have to do something about it. That she literally sounds like just your run-of-the-mill crazy politician who has no clue about how to actually connect with people. It is all about advancing the corporate narrative, full stop.
Oh, completely, completely. And the fact is, look, if TikTok wasn't as popular as it is as a social media platform in this country, we wouldn't be hearing anything about TikTok right now. The problem is that the U.S. government and the powers that be, I don't even want to say U.S. government because that paints it as some other force that we're not in control of, or that people, some weird alien entity that's weighing down upon us. But the problem is that, let's say the powers that be, we'll use that term. The powers that be have realized that they're having a very hard time controlling the narrative on a number of major subjects, the political issues in this country right now. And they realize that they've lost that narrative through the ability that humankind has not witnessed before this day and age, which is the fact that we all can communicate in real time about what's happening to us, whether it be our personal political beliefs or holding a camera up to a police officer that's abusing somebody in the streets, or holding a camera up to a politician and what they say behind the scenes in a restaurant, or whatever it might be. Human beings can communicate now unlike any other time in human history. And they have to figure out, how do we control the narrative? Because most governments and political ideologies are, that's part of their system. They have to control the narrative. They have to only have it be one or two answers to every problem. There can't be 18 different answers to every problem. And so how do we control that narrative? Well, you control that narrative by trying to take away people's ability to communicate with each other, whether they're trying to push a narrative that the left dislikes or push a narrative that the right dislikes. It all comes down to that basic element of, we must control how people communicate with each other, and we must control what's allowed to be talked about and what's not allowed to be talked about. And that's where all of this comes down to. That's why you're seeing a lot of this. It's both, hey, I can get the real cool thing by saying some stuff about TikTok, even though I probably never used it, don't even know how to use it, don't even know how it exists or how it works.
Well, her grandkids
Clearly, Nancy. But also it gets down to, we have to figure out new ways to control narratives, because our narratives are falling apart in ways we have not seen in the political status quo, if ever. Because and that's the real danger that they're worried about right now.
What I think is ironic is that she's standing there talking about the suppression of the Tibetans while suppressing us. So in other words, because China is not good to the people of Tibet, then we can't allow you to have their information. So in other words, we're going to suppress, like, it is the most.
You could tell there's a little bit. You could tell there's a little bit of like envy, because when you look at, and I'm not judging China or anything like that, but it's like but everybody knows that they have a incredible control over their internet in China, and what people are allowed to see, what they're not allowed to see, and things like that. You could tell very clearly that our politicians really are envious of that control. They are really envious of, like, ooh, we want that bubble. Whatever China's doing over there to create things still break through and things like that. But we love that bubble of information control. And they really want to see that duplicated here. They can't duplicate it directly. What they want to do is kind of slide in the back door and kind of do it under the current, whether it's using it in like a high school popularity contest thing where no one wants to say something for fear of getting ostracized. Or it's, what kind of actual machinations can we put into play to really control the narrative here? It's a really, when you step back and look at it, it's a fascinating issue. It's a fascinating machination of power, watching all of this kind of play out, removing yourself from it and just stepping back and looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's very interesting that all they do is try to build up these like straw men with China or Russia. If you're either a Putin puppet or you're in all these things, but in fact, we're no different. It's the same thing. So they say, oh, China is state media. What do you think MSNBC is, people? Because it's all the same thing. If you're getting your talking points from the State Department, guess what? You're state media. So it's with the added benefit of corporate sponsors, so that you're profiting off of it in the meantime. That's the only real difference, I think, between our media and China, is that there's not necessarily a profit motive.
Yeah.
Right. That's what makes our issues even scarier, because now you have the competing views of, that's the problem too that we feel. And a lot of this falls back onto journalism itself and kind of how that's been degraded over time, because, in the old days, maybe you got like the CIA paying people off in certain areas. I think it was what was it, Operation Mockingbird or something of that nature. I think back in the day, where later they found this list of all these predominant individuals who are getting payola from the CIA, who are in our media pushing certain stories and things like that. I think it was Operation Mockingbird. I have to double check that. And that was back in like the 60s and 70s. It came from the Church Committee. But today, because you have a media that is a news media that is so hell-bent on access journalism, that, I don't want to unless I'm upsetting the status quo within the kind of accepted guidelines of like party bickering. Like, I'll stand up to Donald Trump and say something as a journalist, or I'll stand up to Joe Biden and say something as a journalist. But at the core of it, none of our news media want to upset, say, the Pentagon. None of our news media wants to upset the State Department. None of our media wants to upset, say, the DOJ, or these kind of institutions. So that's why you get this very weird version of what you're talking about, of kind of state-sponsored media, where it's not officially state-sponsored. It's just that our journalists, because they don't want to lose access, they don't want to be able to lose the ability to go and ask a question of the State Department or things like that, or of the Pentagon, or their source within the CIA or the military or whatever it might be. They never want to write anything contrary to what those sources say, or what that access brings them, and nobody wants to lose access. And so access journalism has really allowed this kind of state-sponsored media to move forward here without there being an official department that says what you can or can't say as a journalist.
Right.
It's kind of this backdoor way of doing it.
Yeah, they only allow in people that don't question, because their sponsors are the same sponsors. So if Boeing is the sponsor of your media channel, then you automatically are going to be in line with the state talking points, because you're owned by the same company. So it's basically like the media and the government are both just subsidiaries of the same corporations. So
that falls back into that same thing I was talking about with the kind of like weird high school clique culture of things now that's taken over our society, or our political society today. That like, hey, you don't want to say anything outside of what the cool kids are saying, because then you're going to get pushed out of the cool group that gets invited to all the fun parties, and it's that kind of tragic mentality that you're speaking to that really has taken over newsrooms across the country. And that doesn't mean there's not good journalists in there trying to do the right thing. But the other aspect of this, and Matt Taibbi has actually talked about this quite a bit in I think it was Hate Inc., his book, where what they are instead doing is they're just selecting the people who want to be part of that clique as your major journalists, rather than the journalists who would dare to ask an important follow-up question that actually does say, okay, we'll justify this. Why is this needed? All right, it doesn't even have to be like crazy pushback of like some wild man out there. It's just basic journalism of saying, okay, you said this. Well, why is this necessary? And actually stand on your 2 feet and defend this, instead of, oh, well, they said that, so it must be right.
Yeah.
We're going to cover one more important topic related to this. Medea Benjamin and CodePink are friends. We really appreciate the work that they do.
Always.
They were able to basically uncover all of the AIPAC lobbyists that were, let's just say, floating around the Capitol yesterday. And that would explain a lot as to why this bill ultimately did pass. But that's also why we need to recognize that our government is bought and paid for by corporate special interests. So here we go.
This is so.
You're having your lunch. I wanted you to think about the Israeli war crimes. We're okay. Thank you. Well, it is important to think about it. I know it's uncomfortable to think about, but it's
have you been there?
Yeah.
Maybe you should go there.
I've been there 7 times. While you're having your lunch, just think about the children in Gaza who are starving.
Nah, we'd rather not.
No, we like getting paid.
So you're saying these are AIPAC
These
lobbyists?
are all AIPAC lobbyists, all of them.
Yeah. Nice.
And this lady who's putting her hand over her face,
give me a call.
had already gotten one, threw it away, and now she doesn't want to look at her knowing that she's coming back. Because deep down, Tyrel, they all know they're guilty. They know what they're doing. They're taking blood money. They know it, but it's such good blood money. It's so much. All right, we'll keep going.
Play.
Tell me what you're lobbying for. I'm not talking to you. Are you embarrassed about what you're supporting?
No, you should.
Well, are you concerned about 30,000 people who've died, mostly women and children? Let's talk as Jew to Jew. I was told that killing is wrong and that we shouldn't engage in collective punishment. Is that something you believe as a Jew? Do you believe that what Israel is doing is collective punishment? Do you believe in starving people and that happened to our people?
I really wish he would just say, yes, I do.
Well, the problem I have so much with it's like, if you have your position, own it, you coward. Own it. Answer her. You know, it's like how just standing there like this man is such a pussy. I don't even know what to do. This man to me is like an embarrassment to my people. I'm just saying, like, absolutely no courage. What he doesn't even have the courage of his own bullshit.
I hate to say it, and I don't mean to be stereotypical myself, but he is the stereotypical looking person that will hit the red button for the bomb. Because he's
like,
not
doesn't
actually,
know what to do with himself.
Yeah, he's not going to actually go on the front lines and fight.
No, he can't even look. He's scared of Medea Benjamin. I got to tell you, people, she's maybe 90 pounds soaking wet. So I'm just saying, he can't even reply to her. That's a pussy. This is not somebody that should be doing anything politically.
No,
it is amazing to see that the point that you made. It's kind of like, look, you can disagree and even detest and find deplorable someone's political ideologies or what they believe in. And if they believe in what they're doing is right and justified, then like you said, stand up and push back.
Yeah.
You know, stand up and say, hey, you know what? I'm sorry, I disagree with you. Here's why, X, Y, and Z. You know, and you've seen people do that. And you know what? Even if I disagree with them on a fundamental human level of what they're fighting for, at least I can respect the fact, okay, they're standing up and trying to at least make an argument. I'm not talking about name calling and like the bullshit arguments we see on TV today. I'm talking about like actually have an adult conversation about it and actually try to convince me of why I'm wrong and you're right.
Right.
Or at least maybe find a middle ground that we can both agree on and say, okay, there we go. We found some middle ground.
This is why it proves they don't have any better arguments, because all they have is name calling. All right, just finish this because it's brutal.
Weren't we starved and murdered? Isn't that what Israel is doing now to the Palestinians? Doesn't never again mean never again for anyone? It's shameful what Israel is doing and what you are supporting. Makes me ashamed to be a Jew. I was taught as a Jew that we're not supposed to allow what happened to us to happen ever again to anyone. Well, you care about
No, as long as no one's beating you.
They are. Okay. Let me just. This man just asked for security from Medea Benjamin talking to him. This man will not survive this world. I am sorry. If you need security from that, just call it a day. Can you believe this? He just asked for security.
So I'm not. I'm going to point out for those out there wondering why Jen has a better chance of defeating Wasserman Schultz this time than the first time. I can tell you that there is a portion of the district that was there in 2020 that is not there anymore. It's basically ground zero for the Zionist movement.
It is, and they're no longer in our district.
And one of the people, I'm not going to say who,
Bye-bye,
that was
Ventura.
confronted in these drawn out clips happens to have been one of those individuals. And I'm not going to say anything more.
No. But so, yeah, bye-bye, Ventura. We don't miss you.
No, definitely not. All right.
In my way, they're not letting me go.
You are walking, sir. We're not impeding your way. We're just following you to get some answers because we have that right.
I'm a daughter of a Holocaust survivor. My mother escaped Germany in 1939. I know very well what a genocide can do to a people. And it pains me, aches me, anguishes me that every day my people are pursuing a genocide against a faceless, voiceless Palestinian people that you have helped to create facelessness and voicelessness to. Wake up to humanity and allow us all to be human to each other. Stop the war, ceasefire now.
Why are Palestinian lives less important than Israeli lives?
I don't know. Why are they? But that is what they believe.
Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that guy. Unbelievable. They're scared of the CodePink ladies. Seriously.
That's one of those great moments is the fact I thought that you brought up the fact that I've interviewed Medea many times when I did the Watching the Hawks show, and seeing Medea as an activist, and she's somebody who's dedicated her whole life that I'm aware of to various anti-war and peace causes. I mean, this person, you couldn't, you know, if Medea stepped on an ant voluntarily, I would be shocked, because she is truly someone who is like, you couldn't find someone who's more a proponent for peace than Medea, at least in all of my viewings of everything that he's done. And the fact that here's these people who are so uncomfortable about simply being questioned. I mean, I'm sorry, but that is the basic First Amendment right, is our ability to question the power brokers of this country when we disagree with what they're brokering power to, you know, and how they're using that power. And you know, I good for them for going into the Capitol and saying, look, this is what we believe. Here's what you need to see. I would hope that you would actually try to engage with me instead of going to security. You know, that blows my mind, you know, that someone would be like, look, I can't walk down a hallway and hear someone questioning what I'm doing or questioning my political stance. Please, security, can you remove this person who, you know, I think Medea is what, 4'11"?
Yes.
You know, like she, you know, but in no way is she, from what in those clips that I've seen, in no way is she being aggressive or physical in any way and like trying to keep this person. She's simply asking questions and simply stating a viewpoint that she has. There's nothing wrong with that, and it shows the character, you know, people that are there. Oh no, keep it away, keep it away. Like I'm, you know, it's like, you come on. You can't live in that big of a bubble.
I'm sure his kids are proud that he needed security from Medea Benjamin and the CodePink ladies.
Could you ask these people to leave me alone?
Well, this is something that we're seeing left and right, and what it is that people are not okay with just feeling uncomfortable. So somehow feeling uncomfortable has transitioned to feeling unsafe, and we need to realize what that privilege looks like. The fact that when you see students on Columbia University or whatever the campus is, the Jewish, that they don't feel safe. They don't feel, really? You don't feel safe, or you just feel uncomfortable? And I think we need to like really understand the difference between those two things, because really it's, you do not have a fundamental right to not feeling ever uncomfortable. Like that's not something that you just get to just assume that everyone should just walk around on eggshells so you feel comfortable. That's not how this works. So I think that we have this fundamental like problem with distinguishing discomfort with unsafe. And we're just so used to people just never hearing anything they don't want to hear. So all of a sudden, oh, I don't feel safe with that. You know what? I go into some of the neighborhoods that I go into and tell those people that you don't feel safe in your like wealthy existence because somebody said something you don't like. Like, it makes me want to punch people in the face.
Well, it brings the conversation full circle, comparatively speaking, to somebody like your father who served in Vietnam in the Navy as a frogman. I mean, that's as serious as it gets. Whereas somebody like Ben Shapiro is ready, willing, and able to espouse how tough he is by saying we have to go and kill these people from afar.
I'd love to watch Ben date Jesse. That would be hilarious.
Well, that would never happen.
No, I know, but I can't even. It would be like a cat playing with a lizard. It would be kind of like it would be hilarious. Somebody is asking what Jesse's stance is on Israel. I don't know if you feel comfortable saying. I don't know the answer to that.
While not volunteering to speak for my father, but I can say this: Jesse is a peace advocate.
Yes,
it doesn't matter. He is averse to war or genocide or any violence committed by the state against another state. Jesse is a longtime peace advocate. Every problem in this world can be solved through conversation and policy and activism. It does not have to be solved through violence and in any capacity. And the fact that our first initial trigger is always respond violently, respond through violence. That's how we solve all problems. It doesn't solve any problems. We have the entire breadth of human history to look back on, to realize that war or bombing people or killing them never actually solves the problem. Because even if you want to say, hey, this is in defense of October 7th and what happened that tragic day, did they not learn anything from our quote unquote war on terror?
No, there's
the more bombs you drop on a population, the more bombs you drop on a population doesn't stop that population. It doesn't kill and squash out. If anything, it creates more terrorism. Do you think the kid today, do you think the 8-year-old today that lost his mother and brother and things like that is going to grow up and suddenly say, well, golly gee whiz, as an 8-year-old, I just didn't, golly gee whiz, I guess Israel had to do that. No, they're going to grow up with an innate hatred of the people that killed their parents. That doesn't get rid of, that issue. And we learned that very easily with the war on terror that still is going on today. The more bombs you drop on innocent civilians, the more terrorists you create. You cannot get around that. And that's the tragedy of all of this, is that we as human beings, not just in that particular situation going on in Gaza, but as a whole, we still politically, our government still cannot get around this mentality that somehow just killing makes the problem stop. It doesn't. It never will. Because every person you kill has a family member that's now lost somebody. And Jesse, as myself, we're huge peace advocates. We believe that every problem can be solved peacefully. Now, that doesn't mean, yes, if someone invades you, you have a right to fight back against that invasion. Of course you do. But you still then, even in the fighting back, have to somehow at some point say the war has to stop, the killing has to stop. How do we find that solution? That should always be the number one solution. How do you stop the killing? How do we prevent this from happening? That is always, you got to lead with your heart, you got to lead with your soul, and you got to lead with peace. That's the basic general, like I said, it pains me deeply that we here in the 21st century, whether it's Ukraine and Russia or Israel and Gaza or every other outbreak of violence across this world, we still can't seem to get past that hump of our first reaction is always death and killing. Like there's got to be ways that we can make this work better, and that's what you have to fight for, and that's what people like I know Medea Benjamin fights for. That's what that's the whole basis behind Code Pink, and that I think is something that's kind of been lost. And as far as the Ben Shapiros of the world will look, there's a lot of keyboard chicken hawks. There's a lot of chicken hawks who hold office right now. As my dad's advocated numerous times, what we should do is pass a law that says that if a congressperson votes to take the country to war, they have to designate a family member to go serve in that war.
I think that's
what the scary truth is? They probably wouldn't have a problem with that because it ain't their ass that's going
that
over
might
there.
Be.
But at least they have a dog in the fight. At least they're saying, hey, I'm willing to sacrifice a family member to this fight because I believe in it. Because then you're saying, okay, I truly believe this. And look, as much as I'm against war, and I am against war, if somebody opposite me is willing to say, hey, I'm going to send my nephew to go fight, or my son or my daughter or myself, okay, at least I know you have conviction for why you're sending us to war. That it's not just because GE and defense contractors, Lockheed Martin are paying your party X amount of dollars to get you to vote this way. At least then I can say, okay, you have conviction. I disagree with that conviction. I think it's reprehensible to go to war, but at least I can see you have some conviction in your beliefs, and it's not just about money.
Teddy Roosevelt lost a son. FDR lost 2 sons. So it goes without saying, put your money where your mouth is, but we know most don't.
No.
The conversation could not have gone better. We're always happy to have you on. How can people find your work, get involved with what you are doing? And obviously, when scheduling permits, we would love to have you back with Papa Ventura.
When he's done touring the world. Your Substack, is that where you are?
Yes, we're on Substack, Die First Then Quit, as eloquently put behind me. That's where you can find me and Jess's writing. We've been a little, I haven't posted many new things lately because we have a very, very big upcoming major announcement coming in April. That's going to be an incredibly, it has nothing to do with politics.
I was going to say, I'm about to say,
like, get everybody like, ooh, wait, what? No, it's nothing. It's not political in nature, but it's going to be a very, very big historical moment for both Jesse and one of his biggest beliefs. We're putting together something in April that I'm really excited to tell everybody about. We will definitely come back on, both me and my father, towards the end of April to talk about that with you, because it's going to be it's a really big thing that we've been very passionate about. So I apologize to my Substack readers for not being timely lately with posts, because I have been wrapped up in getting something really big and really important and really exciting out to everybody who's not only a fan of Jesse, but things like that. So be prepared. I will be back at the end of April to tell you guys all about it.
All right, awesome. And do mention, though, our little campaign down here in Florida. Do
Yes.
mention it. And do spread some love. You know what I'm saying? Spread some love.
Well, yes.
He wants me to sit. I can't do it because it's over there.
Tyrel, for one time,
Just go like this.
Put your finger down right on the QR code if you see that.
Yeah.
Oh, that QR code. Wait, that one. There it is. There it is. There it is. No, check it out. Definitely. Look, man, Debbie's been in there long enough. We've heard from Debbie enough. I think it's time for some new blood to get in there. So yes, please, Debbie needs to go home now.
Thank you, Tyrel. It's good to see you. We'll see you again.
Take care, brother.
Thank you.
Bye.
One of our favorites, of course.
Best voice.
It'll be very interesting.
Yeah, like a really good. I mean, I'm not saying he's got a very good voice. No, Jesse is I think Tyrel has a deeper voice.
Yes.
Than Jesse, and it's just very. It's very smooth. He'd be really good voiceover. Wow. Like like he could narrate my books. I would be very good with that.
Well,
like
maybe hey, listen, maybe that might happen one day. You never know.
Well, I mean, it really does make a difference who people get to narrate their books on the audio. I'm just saying, especially when it's not going to be themselves. It's you got to be.
One more shout out to our favorite Double K.
We love you, Double K.
Is it implied as Double K because you will always double?
No, that's you know why it is.
Yes,
I know why it's Double K.
I'm just kidding. I'm just saying. Give him twice as obviously.
Thank you guys so much for coming on.
Yes, you guys have been great.
What do we? I mean, I'm good for another 15 minutes, and then I got to go pick up the kid.
Well, that's of anything that you
and
guys
then get back on call time. That's all I do.
So it is actually perfect timing because again, our live streams going forward really need to be an hour and a half. Like we really need to keep it within that window. So for those of you that are here and you smash the like button for the 50 plus people. Again, we were up to 70 people that were watching earlier. As you know, Jen is running for the United States Congress against Debbie Wasserman Schultz for the second and hopefully last time.
In the Democratic primary.
In the Democratic primary.
Florida's 25th district.
And we are seeing, we have reason for optimism.
We have some reason for optimism. But guys, the website is gen2024.org. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to be up in a couple of days. Like we're like very close to having the full site up and running. For right now, we do have Act Blue page, but for people who do not want to donate through Act Blue, I appreciate you, I respect you, and you will have another option as soon as the full web page is up and running, so you do not have to service Act Blue. Yes. I agree completely. So
yeah, I don't think the Democratic Party should get any money.
No. You know? And look, in order to get up and running, that was sort of like the necessary thing. And it just is, because unfortunately the system is so interlinked with so much other of the campaign tools and stuff that it's almost inextricable at this point. It's unfortunately so. But there will be another option on my webpage. And yeah.
For those of you who are considering, again, you can go to gen2024.org or you can go right here and click on that QR code. In fact,
why are we so challenged?
Check the QR code to make sure that it works.
It does.
And so that way you can go. We've already seen an outline of the website. It looks really good so far.
Yeah.
So we're going to have that launched. Jen, maybe talk a little bit about the preamble.
The preamble. Oh, so well, no, but I think people should just go on the site and see. I wrote the issues like it's a preamble to the Constitution. So I think it's kind of corny, but I like it. But that we should talk about last night, going to the iftar dinner in Miramar that was hosted by Mayor Wayne Messam. And this is an annual thing. It's the first time I've gone because this is the first time that Miramar has been inside of our district.
Yes.
So, we used to have to campaign north. Now we have to campaign a little south of that. But it was amazing. I had never been to an iftar dinner, which is a break the fast, essentially, for my fellow tribesmen. But for Ramadan, they do it every night. So they fast every day, daytime for 30 days. I think it's 30 days. It's a month. And then every night there's a feast, a break the fast feast. So it's sort of like the same thing Jews do over the 24-hour period of Yom Kippur, but they do it like a day thing during Ramadan. And so we went to the dinner last night and it was so nice. And the people are so lovely and so welcoming and so like, it's just beyond.
Especially right at the beginning where you need to feel like there's a momentum component to it that makes it feel like it's possible. Because as I would tell anybody, especially as it relates to electoral politics and why getting away from somebody like Wasserman Schultz is possible, is simply this. If people believe that she can lose, then she's going to lose. Because there are enough people that you can just get the sense that they're ready to move on. Not just because she has been in office in Broward County for 32 years, but because there are a lot of bridges that have been burned, a lot of people that have been hurt. And let's be honest, the Democratic Party in the state is completely shot. And so if you want to move it in the right direction, the only way that's going to happen is if you bring in new blood, and you need to do it in a big way. So if somebody like Jen is representing not just South Florida, but if she is fortunate enough, knock on wood, to win the primary, that's at least 2.5 months where she'll have an opportunity, minus her trip, to be able to go to various parts of the state in competitive districts to get out the vote and flip some of those state house seats. You know, for example, they're having a hard time. The teachers are having a hell of a time up in Tallahassee trying to get what should be a $65,000. I don't know if that's a salary that comes after, I guess it's about an X amount of years, but that should be normal. Teachers should be justly compensated for their work. You need to be able to flip more seats, create more momentum. We met with one of the state house representatives yesterday who mentioned that we're at a point where we've been able to pick off a couple of bills that we're not able to get through because we united as one.
Right. And let's not forget that our state party has overlooked so many winnable seats and has dedicated all their money and all their resources to unwinnable seats. For example, putting money, $25 extra million. How much money they put behind Val Demings against Marco Rubio? That and then they ignored
tens
20
of millions of
right.
dollars.
And then they ignored 20 legislative races in seats that were flippable for us. And when you're dealing with a Democratic defense to the level we are in our legislature, you need all the help you can get. So the fact that our party prioritizes unwinnable top ticket seats and completely ignores winnable down ballot races is a testament to their lack of concept of strategy and why the Florida Democrats have fallen off the face of the earth. Why? This used to be a blue state. This used to be a blue state.
It was lean blue.
It was lean blue,
but it was definitely.
But it certainly wasn't where it is now.
And
now our legislature has been completely hijacked by not just red. It isn't a red-blue thing. It's a very, very religious evangelical red.
That's the difference between conservatives in the South and the deep South, especially, versus conservatives in places like the Northeast, the Upper Midwest, the
People
West.
don't understand that.
It's not the same. In the only other part of the country that I would say that conservatives have the type of lean, comparatively speaking, to the South is in the heartland.
I'm going to address this.
And what ultimately ends up happening is that the heartland, when they retire, they typically come to states like Arizona and states like Florida. This is where they retire. And so they bring those values, if you will, here. And that's just not us.
Michael Pan. Jen, do you still support cash payment reparations for foundational Black American descent? I'm assuming you mean ADOS. American, removal of qualified immunity, passage of anti-Black hate crime bill. Absolutely. And not only, and let me be clear about my thoughts on reparations. I support this. We owe people what they're owed. It is not for us to decide what people are owed. There's numbers that decide what people are owed. It is our job to pay our debt. However, how that debt gets distributed needs to be handled amongst ADOS. Those are the people that need to decide what to do with their reparations. If ADOS decide based on, I guess, I don't know, would you have a committee? Would you, whatever. All I'm saying, it is not for the people who are paying the debt to decide how to allocate the debt. My thought is this: whatever the number is that's owed, which I've seen various numbers and we could discuss that, we decide that is what's owed and we pay that money. Now, ADOS, at some point, I know that there's groups that have come up with the strategy, how to distribute and all of that, blah, 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 blah. All I'm saying, it is not for me to decide how to distribute their debt that is owed to them, but I fully support paying it. That's my thought. And so I'm not going to say everybody gets a check for $2,700 because I don't know.
I want to say something to Andrew. I want to say something to anybody out there who is international. And this is very important because remember, this is, I already did.
Oh, okay.
And so one of the things that you have to remember about this campaign is that if you want to contribute, but you're outside of the United States, you can give to generational change. That is within the law. You are allowed to do
we're
that.
Separate. It's totally separate. And that money just really, it helps us with our podcast. It helps us get more stuff out from our show, which ultimately promotes the mission and the message.
100%.
They don't cross over. Like Gen Change does not give money to my campaign. They're completely non-related.
Absolutely. You can absolutely become a Patreon if you want to be $5, $10, $25. If they want to talk to you,
if they want to talk to me,
yes.
And I also have put up a shop where if there's somebody who wants to say make a one-time donation, you would go into our store on Patreon and just purchase something, and I actually will sell you some of my art that is listed there. But I would just need you to give me your address. But that's a way for people to make a one-time donation through Patreon as opposed to subscribing. So I have put that there because people have asked for that.
Michael, the easiest way to explain this is that the healthcare system that we really need.
Yes.
Yes, but the healthcare system we really need is single payer.
Honestly, I haven't looked. In all fairness, the website has been being worked on for a few days, and I haven't looked at it. I forwarded all of that. The reason I don't use Medicare for All is because some people get hung up on catchphrases and like trademarks and whatever.
Almost everybody knows what single payer is.
Here's what I think. I think that every person has a right to health care. I think that every person should be able to go to any doctor that they want to go to and get the treatment they need free at point of service and have no copays and no deductibles. You can call it Medicare for All. You could call it single pay. You call it whatever you want. You call it the hokey pokey.
But Jen, if I become president of the United States, how are you going to justify taking all those jobs away from people that have worked hard for so many years?
You mean in the insurance company?
Yes. What are you going to do about that?
Tell them the world needs ditch diggers too, Bobby.
I'm pretty strong and I can dig a few ditches myself. But I'm just trying to.
So yeah, don't get caught up on the label. I am not saying that I think healthcare should be affordable. I am not saying that everybody should have access to healthcare. I am saying that
healthcare.
I am saying healthcare is a right, and everybody in this country should have access to a doctor that they want to go to and go wherever they want to, free of charge, free of point of service, and end of story. That is what I think. No mealy mouth, no words. The only reason I don't say Medicare for All is sometimes people get thrown off by that word. Look, everybody gets health care. How's that? Everybody gets health care.
So for Andrew, for Travers, for anybody who follows our show that is outside of the United States, but you want to contribute to Jen's campaign in some capacity, go to Patreon.
That's just so funny.
No, I'm doing something.
Whatever. Go to Patreon.
Go to patreon.com/generational change. For as little as $5 a month, you can become a small but mighty supporter of our efforts to transform politics into service.
Oh, quick shout out to Amethyst. Amethyst, if you're listening or watching, it was nice chatting with you today. Just saying.
And of course, you could also go to Cash App. But if you go to Patreon, that puts you on the monthly. And this campaign is going until the end of August. So keep that in mind. You know, it's a 5.5-month campaign. We are going to need all the help we can get.
Yeah, this is more like a hyper coaster than last time. Like last time, it took us a while to start really bringing in money. We do not have that luxury this time. So like we need money now. So because we're running a very short, tight race on purpose, by design, well thought in advance. Like this is not impromptu. It's just strategy. But we definitely need support. We definitely need help. We need any kind of in-kind things. If somebody is good at like video work, if somebody is good at anything, like let us know, reach out. You can reach out to us at campaign@gen2024.org. And that will go to my campaign manager. And we will allocate how to use everybody's best skills to help us, because this is like a Sisyphean group effort. It really is. Like this is not.
It's not going to take us a village. It's going to take a town.
It's going to take a city. And regardless of how,
but it can be done.
It can be done. I wouldn't do it if I didn't think it were possible. But it's still, it's an uphill battle. I mean, she's getting all her ducks in a row. She's fortifying the forts and getting all her little, stuff all lined up. It's like playing Stratego. But, at the end of the day, we have more people.
Oh yeah, no.
We have more people. There is not a doubt in my mind that we have more people.
People
now
just need to believe.
They need to come out and vote. Yeah. Because when we live in a place where she can win is 14% voter turnout in a primary, half of those people don't even vote on the Democratic ticket. So at 14%, half of them vote. And of those, how many people vote for her? That's how few people it takes. I need 45,000 votes. I need 45,000 votes. It's not anything that
50,000 just to be safe.
Well, 50,000 to be safe. But the point is, it is very doable. We have more people. We do. We just have to have them come out and vote.
Yeah.
And the reception that I've been getting, my phone has been ringing off the hook from people that are just so fed up and so frustrated, whether it's based on just corruption or what's going on in Gaza. There is no doubt that I am getting a huge amount of support from the Muslim community.
Yeah.
And truthfully, rightfully so, because I have been speaking out in this capacity for years now.
And if you need any proof that Jen was right on this issue well before October 7th, go look up Deconstructing Zionism from 2022.
Yeah. So this isn't new. So, it makes sense that people in the Muslim community, when they feel threatened, are going to want somebody who advocates for them and sees them as actual human beings. And our representative is not doing that right now for them.
No,
and they're very upset and they're devastated. I went to an event where I don't think there was a single Palestinian person there that didn't have family members that are dead from what's going on in Gaza. So it's very tight-knit community, and their phone tree has been active. And she should be concerned about that. She should be concerned that a lot
if it's
of
if it's a level playing field, Jen will win. Like that's, to me, that's not even a question.
And
but
you know, look,
will it be?
There's always games. There's always shenanigans. I know that's coming. Whether it's this gets demonetized, something gets whatever it is. Okay, she'll play whatever games she's going to play. And at the end of the day, it'll come down to, can we get enough people to get out and vote? That's all.
Yeah.
And so I feel confident, like in terms of positions, in terms of anything, like in terms of anything having to do with people that understand what's in the best interest of the universe, those people are on our side. The people that aren't are the people that have all sorts of ulterior motives and reasons for why they do what they do, or they just live in a fear-based world that they just can't get out of.
As close to a level playing field
there is
as we can possibly get. We agree. And yes, there is no question that Dirty Debbie will play her tricks, because that's what she does. And now that she thinks that she might lose, there's no telling what she'll do. And so just be aware.
She's going to come in.
Make sure to check under your car every time you get in.
No, I don't think like that. But I will say this. There are 75,000 Muslim voters in Broward County. Most of them are Democratic voters. Most of them are registered as Democrats. And they are not satisfied with the level of representation that they're getting. And so really what it comes down for us at the end of the day, it's a numbers game.
Yeah.
He says 50,000 votes. Well, we had 21,000 the first time, and a lot of years of new name experience. And so I'm feeling pretty good about doing what we need to do, to run a really solid campaign. And we will be running a service-based campaign. Our volunteers will be out doing service. And so, because otherwise you people know that if I don't win and then I did that, then I wasted everybody's time. So we will be out doing service. I will be out being an advocate, a proponent, being as loud as I can be on the issues that matter to my people.
The campaign is already worth it because of the attention you're bringing to an issue that no one in the Jewish community seems to want to do. So that in itself is a big deal.
And I'm not scared of AIPAC. Yeah. I'm really not. I'm not scared of them.
No,
they're going to say what they're going to say.
Look at how, again, when you have people like Medea Benjamin and CodePink fighting the way that they're fighting, now you know it's game on, because you have to go on offense. You cannot go on defense.
I'm not scared of AIPAC. I'm not scared of Jonathan Greenblatt at the ADL. And shame on every single person that touts themselves in any capacity as a public servant that is scared of those people. Because how can you possibly have that little courage that you let such small little people control you? And I know it's about money, but even for the people that don't take the money, even for the squad and the people that don't take the money, but they still act out of fear and they live in fear, you're never going to get anywhere with your fear.
You may be right, but you know what? If any ounce of desperation is felt right at the beginning, that means that we can win. That's the difference.
Of course she's going to play dirty. I am at this point, I wouldn't be surprised. Look, the last time we did this, if you had typed in jenperlman.com, it went right to her congressional website. Like ridiculous nonsense that she'll do. And I know that she will. But the thing is, at the end of the day, again, it's a numbers game. And it's, can I get enough people out to vote?
And this is why our platform here can be essential to success, because it gets us all over the place. But like I said, we do have a very unique advantage with our platform that very few others who ever attempt this are able to do. And you know what that is? We can actually get contributors to our channel to help us who are international. If you're going directly through the campaign,
you cannot do it. No,
but you can help this.
You can help,
and this helps boost our message, and more and more people see it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Monday night, 9 p.m., regular scheduled time. One of your all-time favorites, Steve Grumbine from the Real Progressives, will be making his return. So I hope you all will tune in. Obviously, Steve's been on the sabbatical for a while.
I'm coming from another iftar dinner because they're feeding me again, but I have to go to the 305.
You're just going for the food.
Kinda, but I will say this: I am traveling to the 305, which is not something I love to do.
I'm gonna have to do it.
You're gonna have to come with, but and the thing about it though is the welcoming and this community has been so thankful and so appreciative, and what makes me I'm so humbled by these people, but what makes it so sad to me is that they're even in that position in the first place. Why are they in this position where they have to feel that somebody saying that they deserve to live They should be so thankful for that. What the hell, people? We are so far off from where we need to be. It's just
but it also
crazy.
shows you the lack of humanity. One more time before you go, right there. We got it. Make sure you click on that QR code.
Only national people.
Only if you're in the United States.
And only because we are USA all the way, baby.
I'm not touching you. Go to the QR code.
I hate when we say that only if you're in this country, because like we're some sort of like
white
xenophobes. No, but it's people. If you don't know, obviously, it's just the rules for campaigning here. Yeah. It's just the rules. So we love our international people. I'm looking at you, Travers.
We do. And make sure, again, if you want to get involved in any capacity, and there are lists of different things that you can feel.
Hi, Chris.
In terms of how you can help out. Campaign at gen2024.org. Tony D, Kelly Elaine, Steve, Teresa, Jimmy Zimzam, Holly Horn.
You Carl, don't like my music.
You know, Jimmy, yes.
Was Metal here today?
Matt was not. Yes, but no. Shiflib, quite the name. Sile George, Nelson Ortega.
You guys rock.
Michael Pan, Donald James, Sable Minor.
Seriously, and if honestly, guys, like I totally get not wanting to donate to political stuff anymore. I do. I really,
Teresa,
really do. So seriously, if you guys at least follow
Chris
on
Garrett,
social media, share our stuff, share our videos, promote us.
Karen Murphy.
Honestly, it's so appreciated. It's so appreciated. If you have a few dollars even and you want to be monthly, the reason I love that so much is just feeling how much support we have. The idea of having so many individual donations, it's very inspiring to me. It really helps. More so, yes, we need money. We do. But honestly, let's say you only could donate $5 a month, even if it was $3 a month. Just somebody wanting to be part of what we're doing, it really fuels me. Like it really does. It's a huge thing for me to see. Stop touching me.
Henry Kajawa.
It just is.
Ray J, Zach M, Ronwell Nagalis.
Who else's name are you butchering? Donald James?
I think I got
that one's easy. Sable.
Yes. Okay. The self-care maven.
Wait.
Epstein?
No.
Epstein?
No. Episteme.
Episteme?
Episteme.
So you say.
Why do you have to argue about these? Wait till Deter McBusiness comes back on and you keep calling him Dieter. It's not Dieter. It's Deter.
Cheryl Wiles. I got that one right.
Yeah. Well, you get the easy ones.
Damn you. You'll get the easy ones.
You get the easy ones. What was that from?
Big Daddy.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Wait, it was,
Tony?
It was,
Hip Hop?
That was what's
Hip Hop Anonymous?
Schneider.
Rob Schneider is a big supporter of RFK, by the way.
I don't care, but let me tell you, that's one of I love Big Daddy. Big Daddy and Wedding Singer were my favorite actors.
Shirley Kirsten, Jay Boggs.
Yeah, I do like that was really funny. You can do it.
Yes. But the best is still Happy Gilmore.
I know that boys think that. Just Doug like boys think things like The History of the World Part 1 is funny.
I don't think I've seen like clips of
the truth is I'm just not Mel Brooks. I'm just see there it is right there.
You didn't like Men in Tights?
No, first of all, I would never have seen Men in Tights. I do not find
Dr.
Mel
McGee.
Brooks funny. I just don't.
I think that's it.
My dad tried very hard to get me into that. Trust me. I cannot tell you how much my dad loves Blazing Saddles. Like that is probably one of his favorite movies. And I still have not been able to get into Mel Brooks. So I'm just saying.
Smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those wonderful things we ask you to do.
Space.
Monday, 9 p.m., Steve Grumbine. We're going to get our MMT on as we prepare for the dog days of campaign season 2020.
We're going to work on policy, people. Policy.
We'll see you Monday.